Welcome to Level Up Mechanics, and in today's video we'll be doing the last round of sound system upgrades on my 8th gen Honda Civic. If you haven't seen my previous two videos in regards to the stereo head unit and the speakers, make sure to check out the description section. I'll leave links to each of those videos in case you want to see all of the other sound system upgrades I've done so far. But in this video we're going to be installing a JBL BassPro Nano compact subwoofer. I'll also leave links in the description section to all of the items that we'll be installing today as far as the subwoofer is concerned, so make sure to check those out as well. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to leave them in the comment section and I'll respond as soon as I can. But for now, let's go ahead and move on to the install. So the last part of my audio upgrades for the Honda Civic are going to include this JBL BassPro Nano compact subwoofer. In addition to the subwoofer, there are a couple extra things that you need to purchase. For my particular application, since I have a Sony XAV-AX4000 head unit, in order to power up the subwoofer, you will need to purchase an amplifier installation kit. This subwoofer has an amplifier built into it, so you just need to power it by attaching it with this amplifier installation kit. And then in addition, to connect to the back side of my Sony head unit, I needed to purchase this Metra RCA Y adapter. Since there's only one RCA subwoofer outline on the back of the head unit with the connector that comes with the head unit, I need to be able to connect to that one line and split it into a left and a right line in order to send audio signal to the subwoofer itself. Now with this subwoofer, you can wire it in to connect to all of the factory speaker wires. However, just using two RCA cables and this adapter will make life a little more easier as far as electrical wiring is concerned. As you can see, I've already done some preliminary work so I can route the power wire from the battery all the way into the location where I'm going to install the subwoofer. And so I've disconnected the positive and negative on the battery just for safety precautions. As you can see inside, I've also done some preliminary work to get to the back side of the Sony head unit, and I've also taken out my center console as well. The location where I want to install the subwoofer is actually going to be right here between the rear seats, right in the middle. So with that in mind, I took everything out. I got access to the back of the head unit. I will be able to attach the subwoofer from this RCA line connection that is labeled sub out, and then I will also need to connect to, there's a little blue wire with a white line and it is labeled REM out. I'll also need to run a wire to the subwoofer and connect to this wire right here that attaches to the back of the head unit. And then I will need to run a main power source cable directly from the battery through the firewall down the center console area to feed power to the subwoofer in the location I'm going to put it. And then I'm also going to need to ground the subwoofer. I'm going to go run all the wiring real quick and show you how everything is hooked up, and then we'll move on to the next step. So here's the setup for the REM blue wire and the RCA cables that go from the head unit to the subwoofer area. As you can see here, I have my blue REM wire that's included with the amplifier kit, and then the RCA left and right cables that's also included with the amplifier kit. I have them routed up and through the back side to the back of the stereo head unit, and my idea is that I'm just going to follow this natural OEM wire harness and zip tie the aftermarket wires to the OEM harness so that they're in a safe location, and I can work those wires all the way back to the back side of the center console area where I'll install the subwoofer. So right here we can see on the back of the stereo head unit I have my REM out wire, and it's a blue wire with a white line, and I have it connected to the aftermarket REM wire that's included with the amplifier kit. And so I've made that connection there, And then on the back side of this head unit, I've got one RCA cable connection that says sub out. I know it's upside down. Let's see if you can see it. It says sub out. So from there, I have my Y RCA cable splitter to make 2 connections. And then I have my aftermarket RCA cables right here, and they are routed in the same location as the REM out blue wire. So now that I have the connections on the back of the head unit, I'm going to route the power wire from the battery to the back side of the center console location where I'll install the subwoofer. So as far as the power wire is concerned that will feed power to the subwoofer, I have the power wire connected to the positive battery cable. I have it connected right here with a large ring terminal, some heat shrink wrapping between the connection for the terminal and the wire, and then I have the wire zip tied on the OEM wire harness, kind of like an OEM harness routing is concerned. Here is the 15 amp inline fuse for the power wire that feeds power to the subwoofer, and then I've just routed it in such a way that it kind of mimics where the OEM wiring harnesses are concerned, and I've zip tied them in every so often in order to secure the harness onto the vehicle to make sure that I don't have any issues. If we look back here, we can see that the wire harness goes and follows the harness all the way back to around right here, and that is where there is a harness that goes through the firewall, and I fed the power wire through the firewall harness through that little grommet that the harness goes through. In order to do this, I just used some electrical tape on one end of the power wire. I taped it onto a long Phillips screwdriver and then just punctured the grommet to push the wire through the grommet and through the firewall. And when you do that, make sure you're very careful not to hit any of the OEM wiring that is going through the grommet and through the firewall. I kind of punctured it at an angle to the driver's side to avoid any of the OEM wiring going through that grommet and through the wire harness. Once I fed it, you'll see the wire on the driver's side underneath the dash, and I fed it through and then traced it down over here. I used one zip tie to secure the power wire over on the driver's side way up above so it won't fall down and mess with my feet, and then I routed the rest of the harness over here so that way I can now follow this yellow wire harness through the center console area. I can zip tie all of my wires that I'm running onto this harness so that way it stays secure and the center console will cover everything up, and I won't have any issues with wires interfering with anything. Next up, I'm going to actually finalize the connections over at the end behind the center console where I'll be installing the subwoofer. Here is a final look at all of the wiring that I've routed. I know this is a little dirty, so I'll make sure to show a nice clean final subwoofer fitment at the end of the video. However, I just wanted to show you how I routed all my wiring. I have my power red wire, my RCA cables going from the head unit, and also the blue wire that also comes from the head unit as well. I have them all routed over here. As far as my ground wire is concerned, I went ahead and just located the ground wire and bolted it to this bolt right here for the shifter assembly. I have my subwoofer in the location that I want to mount it. I have not secured it down yet. I will have to do a little bit of trimming on the back side of the center console so I can clear all my wires and sort of hide them underneath the center console area. But so far everything is good. This wire right here that looks like a phone wire is my remote subwoofer control knob, which I have installed inside the bin in the center console, so it's hidden and out of the way. Once I put the center console in, this wire will go through the bottom of the center console in the bin and will connect to my remote subwoofer control knob. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and clean all of this mess up and secure everything, install the center console and all of the other trim panels that I removed, and then I should be good to go as far as finalizing the fitment of the subwoofer and testing everything out with the Sony XAV-AX4000 head unit. So here's a final look of the subwoofer with everything installed and in its place. Here we have the backside where the subwoofer is in front of the rear seats, and I ended up just bolting the subwoofer down onto this floor mat that I purchased off of Amazon. I guess I'll leave a link in the description below for the floor mat as well. This subwoofer does not move at all. The floor mat does not move at all. I've taken my Civic autocrossing multiple times. This is super secure. It's not going anywhere. Doesn't move while I'm autocrossing. And as far as fitment is concerned, it does just fine. Obviously, you can tell that you can't even see the wiring since it's tucked up so closely to the back end of the center console. I ended up just cutting out enough of the right bottom corner of the center console in order to clear all the wiring so nothing would rub, and bolted the subwoofer down close enough to where you can't virtually see the wires coming through the backside. With the Sony head unit, I can control the bass levels and a lot of the subwoofer parameters just off of the head unit. And then if I want to manually control the boost level, I have my boost controller. It's basically just screwed on right here on the inside of the armrest area. All I did in regards to installing this boost controller was I drilled a hole big enough for the wire connector to go through the bottom end, and then just plugged it in right here, and just secured it with some 2 small screws in order to keep the boost controller right there. So that way I can manually control the boost level if I want. And then again, I can control the boost level on my Sony XAV-AX4000 head unit. Again, here's one final look of what it looks like installed. I highly recommend this if you're looking to add a compact subwoofer to your stereo system. It is definitely very compact, doesn't take up a lot of room, sound quality is amazing, and this pretty much finishes my stereo upgrades for the Honda Civic. That's going to do it for this video. Again, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.